Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be opening up here the League Battle Deck Shadow Rider Calyrex VMax box. This is something that I find to be quite fun, of course, because it's always nice to just be able to build decks that have been played by past champions. So that's definitely really fun, but the thing is this, it is definitely a much older particular product here, so I am a little late to the party, but with that being said, I still think Shadow Rider Calyrex is one of the top decks out there, so I really wanted to give this a particular try here. So yeah, this was something that I just definitely had to get. But with that being said though, there is definitely some differences with the previous League decks. The previous ones had only 2 copies of each of the Vs and VMaxes. So we're talking about the Urshifu decks, we're talking about the Inteleon decks, and for that reason you kind of had to buy 2 copies of the League Battle decks just to build the decks. That was kind of an issue because the thing was this, most of those decks you only really needed 3 copies of the Vs or VMaxes, so when you only got 2 of them, it was a little bit pesky to have to buy a second copy of the League Battle deck just to get an additional copy of the cards you actually needed. Meanwhile, all of the generic staples that came with the deck itself, they already mostly came in 4 copies, or at least you didn't need 4 copies of them. So with that, it felt kind of like a waste of money, and you were better off just going out and looking for singles. In this particular case, they are now giving you 3 in one particular deck itself. That makes it so that you don't actually have to go out and buy yourself a second copy. You don't even have to go out and look for a singular copy of the card itself as well, because most of these decks are played with just 3 copies of the boss monster, or the boss Pokemon in this particular case. So yeah, I do like how things have been improving in that regard, making it a bit more on the budget friendlier kind of side, and that way we would have more money to actually buy a lot of the bigger products that come out later down the line, you know. So the premium collection boxes are something that could be really expensive, and you know, just having that extra $50 or $60 because you didn't have to buy a second copy of this is just nice and handy to go and get those bigger products. So that's something that I think Pokemon has definitely been improving on, and I hope to see that as a main feature of all future League Battle decks. But with that being said, we have this one here, so let's not waste any more time and let's just get this opened up and see what's actually in here. Alright, so right over here we have all of our cards out in the open. So starting off, we have our 2 counters here, our damage counters, that is. Not particularly important, but you know, it's always just nice to have extras anyway, why not. We also have over here our instruction pamphlets, or at least the rulebook over here. Not too big of a deal if you already know how to play, of course. It seems to be made out of a recycled material, so that's kind of good as well. At least that's what it feels like to me. It seems like something that is a little bit better here, so that's fantastic, you know, because most of these we end up just throwing it away anyway. And you guys might have noticed that the old ones used to have a bit more of a gloss to them, which means they were using pretty much just new paper. In this particular case, it does feel like it's recycled material, but I'm not entirely sure. You guys will have to confirm with me on that, because the material feels more like this. So this one probably hasn't changed, but at least for the rulebook they have changed it up, so if you don't need it, it would be good to recycle them. We also have this over here, which is kind of like a bit of a guide on how things are, so let me just focus up there. Yeah, there we go, really nice, but I'm just going to set that aside. We also have our code cards, so I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we have our dice over here as well. there's really not much to it. I mean, it's just the purple dice, kind of follow the same color scheme as the Shadow Rider Calyrex itself as well. So I can't wait to actually get the regular Ice Rider Calyrex. I think that's the other one as well, so I'll try and look for one of those. But these particular League Battle decks, they're not easy to come by anymore. So yeah, but with that being said, I am not a big fan of the dice being numbered like this. I'd rather them just stick to the dots with the die, because honestly they're pretty much unusable in any other format or pretty much any other card game out there, you know. And the fact that it's restricted to only being used in Pokemon, really just not a fan of it. I mean, yeah, it could have been improved. But with that being said, we do have our Calyrexes right here, 3 copies of each. That's the fantastic thing. But of course, I'm going to take a look at the deck first, and we'll get to the cards, or at least the main feature later on. So we get this nice box as well. Obviously a great way to just store your cards. Once you sleeve it up, you can't fit it in here, but that's, you know, it's fine. It's always just another means of storage. So starting off over here, we have our Galarian Articuno, a very fantastic card here. We have a bit of the purple energy, or psychic energy that is. Quite a lot here. It seems like they're all just stacked up in the one area. It does seem like this whole deck is just focused on psychics. So there is no mix. We have Air Balloon, Marnie. These are just your generic staples. Professor's Research, the same case supplies, Boss's Orders, Training Court. You can see we're getting like 2 or 3 copies of these, or even a play set, which means, again, it just reinforces the fact that we don't have to buy a second copy of the League Battle deck. We also have here our Fog Crystals, 4 copies of those. That's fantastic. We have Great Ball. We have Quick Ball, which is a really great staple in any deck. We have Ordinary Rod, Evolution Incense to search for your Shadow Rider VMaxes. We have our Switch, and we have Cresselia as well as Pumpkaboo. So definitely a fantastic line here. You can see there wasn't too many Pokemon in this particular deck. I mean, these are the only Pokemon we have. That's 6 Pokemon outside of the Calyrex. So you can see that this whole deck is definitely focusing on Shadow Rider Calyrex as the main engine here. So it is a little it's good in the sense that it's really focused on the one playstyle. But with that being said though, if you lose that particular line of Shadow Rider Calyrex VMax, you essentially have no backup line. So it's definitely a little different to the way I normally play. I usually like to have at least a backup boss monster or backup boss Pokemon to fall back to. But with that being said, we have our Shadow Rider Calyrex V. Not really the main card that we would be playing here. It's more so the card that we're using to evolve into our VMax, which is right over here. And again, I just can't emphasize how amazing it is to actually get 3 VMaxes in a League Battle deck. I mean, yeah, it's definitely fantastic. So there we go, a really nice boss Pokemon over there. So can't wait to actually build this deck. I will be making a few modifications to the deck itself, and that way it would be a little closer to my particular playstyle. But with that being said, this was definitely really fun, and yeah, I hope you guys also enjoyed playing this deck as well. If you have a bit of hints or tips or anything like that, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, drop a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you again in the next video.